This is from the chapter entitled Searching for Antonia. The midday sun has reached the top of the sky by the time I walk out through the hospital's gates and into the street again, and in my anxious condition, I'm not ready to handle the intense heat. So I hail one of the three-wheeled taxis called a tuk-tuk for 2.5 quetzales, about 33 cents, and ask the driver to take me to the municipalidad, the town hall in Tiquizate, where all official business happens here. This is my last chance at finding an address for Antonia today, at least, and I know it. I cross my fingers, hoping that Raul's friend Chomo can work miracles. Tiquizate is basically just one main street that, according to the map, continues south toward the Pacific Ocean after the town ends. Rutted dirt paths jut off from both sides, and small-town Central American life happens everywhere in the form of women standing outside their tiendas, blaring merengue music, most of them dressed in thin t-shirts, sandals, and short shorts, almost provocative. It's damn hot here at the Costa Sur. This part of Guatemala feels much more Caribbean than the chilly Mayan highlands, and I wonder if that automatically means sexual promiscuity. Boys on bicycles hoot and holler when they pass by chicas walking on the side of the road. We pass the traditional market on the left side of the street where vendors are selling fresh fruits and vegetables, tortillas, meats, and clothing under their tin sheet roofs. This all right next to the terminal where buses honk their horns in preparation for trips to Escuintla, Mazatenango farther to the west, even directly to Guatemala City. What I noticed right away about Tiquizate is that there is no one dressed in indigenous clothing or speaking any of the 22 Mayan languages, even though the people are clearly descendants of that great empire. The colorful trajes and huipiles worn by the women are confined to the volcanoes and Altiplano to the north and west, where ancient traditions are preserved, where a greater sense of community prevails, and where, I figure, the subject of giving up children ultimately to foreigners is taboo. Just after the Telegua telecom station, the southern end of town, where I begin to see more dusty, empty lots than I do open businesses, the tuk-tuk turns right and stops in front of a 2-story concrete building painted with what looks like a new coat of orange, the town hall. True to Central America, a line of people waits under the building's eaves near a teller's window. They are shielded from the vicious sun, but sweat still pours down their foreheads. And just like those waiting in front of the gates of the hospital, all eyes quickly focus on me, and the teller asks how he can help me. Jerónimo Mendez. I'm here to see El Señor Jerónimo Mendez. Pasa adelante, right this way. The preferential treatment awaits me. A security guard opens the door and lowers his shotgun so that I can enter. A secretary opens the second door, and with a smile ushers me into an office full of desks overflowing with papers, and people running about the room in no particular pattern that I can discern. Against each of the walls are 6-foot-high shelves of huge books and binders, and for a moment I feel as if I've entered an ancient library. Suddenly the commotion stops, and the people on their feet, who I figure are secretaries and bookkeepers, move off to the left or right, opening a line of sight between me and an old man with shining silvery hair, elegantly combed to the right, and wearing a clean white short-sleeved shirt with blue stripes, unbuttoned at the top. He sits behind a grand wooden desk, which I realize now is the center of the office, gripping a ballpoint pen between the thumb and forefinger of his right hand with a mountain of papers waiting to be signed. But when he looks up and sees me, a broad smile spreads across his face. This dignified character must be Jerónimo Mendez, aquí para servirle, here to serve you. The record keeper of Tiquizate must be as enthralled by my presence as I am by his. Sitting down in a chair in front of his desk, I introduce myself as an American journalist and joke that I'm probably the first one he's seen this week. Jerónimo tosses back his head and chuckles. Then I tell him exactly why I'm here. A Salvadoreña who gave birth to a little girl here almost 14 years ago and then gave her up? He ponders the dilemma. Pobrecita. If I had 10 quetzales for every time that's happened. How's the girl doing now? She's great, I answer, realizing that Jerónimo is the first Guatemalan I've met who was actually asked about the girl's current well-being. She lives with a very kind family in a beautiful part of the country and goes to a very good school. She's a talented artist and musician. The broad smile returns to his face. Así es en el norte. That's how it is in the United States. Geronimo says. We'll look for a record of the girl's birth. But you said that the mother is not from here? What about the father? Do you know his full name? I finished copying the names Eleanor Patricia Berenice Ortiz and Juana Antonia Cubillas Rodriguez on a pad of paper, and then looked back at my notes for the father, about whom I had almost completely forgotten. Arnoldo Ortiz Gonzalez. Geronimo hands the pad to one of his assistants, a teenage girl who, with the help of her colleagues, climbs a step ladder and retrieves what looks like a 2-foot-high, 20-pound volume and lowers it down to another girl standing next to the official's desk. The first girl opens the book and carefully unwraps its yellowing pages, which look as brittle as autumn leaves on the forest floor. Then she blows a cloud of dust off the book's open surface and begins studying its contents. My mouth agape at what's happening before me. I watch as the brain trust of Tiquizate takes a journey into the town's past, to the time before the fire in the hospital, and before Guatemala's peace accords were signed. On October 3rd, 1991, the day Ellie was born, the country was still at war with itself, with guerrilla fighters hiding out in the mountains in the western highlands, or escaping to Mexico to kill time until peace could be secured, and the army ordered to destroy them before that happened. The girl looks up from the book. It's not here, she says, surprised. We have no record of Eleanor Patricia Berenice Ortiz being born in Tiquizate. Que extraño, how strange, Geronimo exclaims. You said that they do have proof of her birth in the hospital? I nod. Let's look for their father, Arnoldo. If he really is from Tiquizate, then we'll have a record of his cédula. Of course, I think. His identification papers filed when he was 18. They'll have an address for him or his parents. While the assistant ascends the ladder again to retrieve a different book, Geronimo leans over the desk and begs me to come closer. Why is it that gringos come to this country to adopt our children? He asks me in a hushed tone so that no one around us can hear our conversation. I understand that some of them can't have their own, but why here?